Okay, so a little update on what I'm doing right now. Okay. I've made a new character just because I needed to get writing again and all that gear stuff. Her name is Cardia. Get it? Heart? Oh, Cardia, which is like Greek for heart. I spell her name Khardia. Cardia. Don't know last names yet. No, actually, I do. It's Goldvim. She is part of the Goldvim family. The Goldvim family are the part of the monarchs, right? And there's this whole thing where like they're trusted to be the fucking points for the forgotten king to enter through and this and that. So they hold this high class society, the consciousness, the force, this and that. Listen to the other videos. One of those things. Just listen to those if you want to know. But anyway, she was a tasked to do a mission by her father, a couple missions. Story begins. I'm not going to talk about the story because that's the fun part. You'll figure it out. But anyway, the thing about her is she is going to be in the story of the damned. She's that gal. Now her fall will be with the love of I almost said his name again. The love of Quartus that will take her, and she will be stuck to that person for the rest of her life. Now, she gets eventually sent to a place that I'm calling for right now, Verminon. Verminon. Vermenon. Verminon. That is the place where they, let's just say the used are sent, and not the band. The used up monarchs and all that. That's where they're sent there. That's where she's sent, actually. Wait, why was she sent there? You'll find out when you read. So, that happens. Then somehow she'll meet Quartus. Then she's going to be the chick at 464. She will meet Eris when Eris is sent to 464 when he's captured. That's where her path will cross with Eris's path. And so we have it. So she will have a direct connection into the story going forward. The issue that I have in my mind is it good to plan all this out ahead? There's a part of me that's like, you have to plan the book out. You can't just write it all based on like, and I don't know what's happening. Or that's how you did do it, in a sense. But like, I only have like big moments. So if I'm gonna write about him going to the, I knew he was gonna go to the mountains. I knew he was gonna pass through, like a long time. I'm trying to think what I knew a long time ago. I knew his city was gonna get attacked for Eris. I knew that he was going to have to leave the city and go to the mountains. I didn't know why he was going to the mountains, but I knew he was going to go to the mountains. I didn't know what was going to happen between all that. I had no clue why he was going to the mountains and what was going to happen there. Then I wrote to that point, and now I'm in doing the mountain scene or whatever it is in Kalendra. I have no clue what's happening. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm writing to a shit that I didn't really plan. All I planned was him getting out of the mountains and going down to the forest, and then it's like, okay, then the reveal would happen, whatever that meant. I don't know what the reveal is. I don't know how he gets out of there and what happens along the way. Like, I didn't plan a lot. I planned the big moments. I know the story plot though. I know because there's a few more. Like I don't want to ruin everything, but I know like this person does that, which leads to this, and he meets that person, and then that person helps him do this, and blah blah blah. Then the story does this, and I know how the story is going to end and everything. I just don't know all those middle parts. And obviously it's like, do I need to plan that out, or is it good that I'm just kind of filling it all in naturally? Like, it does take longer because I didn't sit down and painstakingly like lay it all out. This person and that person and here's this and that. Like I just kind of like went with it and let it all just flow naturally. You know, nothing like you know that you have to go to work, but you don't plan on going to work. You just like it when it happens, it happens. I'll get there. I know I got to be there, but I don't know how I'm going to get there, kind of thing. I mean, I remember doing that when I didn't have a car, you know, and you had to figure out rides and shit. It's like one of those things. Like you'll figure it out along the way, and if you don't, you don't. So that's kind of what I do, and I don't know if it's a great idea. It does take longer, but when it takes longer, it bastes better. You know, like put something in a crock pot or whatever when you're cooking. Gets that meat nice and moist or whatever. You know, like the food. I don't know. It feels like that to me, where it's taking longer to do, but it matures it so much better. I mean, I'm not on a timeline here at all. I do need to get going in some sense because I don't want to have a normal fucking job when I'm doing this because I can't really focus as much as I want onto it. Unless I, just have I just put stuff up here and then I go home. Like, unless I do that. That's the only way I can get over doing something like this, but still getting paid. Because I don't have another outlet for my passion like that. It's just this book. But there's many different outlets with it, like drawing and different stories and making lore and doing these videos or whatever they're called, these episodes and studying for it and, planning. Like I have many different things I'm doing within this book, but it's for like a universe. It's like all my passions are for one place. It all kind of comes back to the publishing of this book. Is that a good idea? Is that something that I want to do with my life? I don't know. I don't know what's right and what's wrong. It's kind of those things. You just got to kind of do it. You just got to kind of move on to see what happens, I guess. I don't really know. I'm not really sure what it is all about and stuff like that. But this introduction of a new character, Cardia, kind of a cool name. I think it's kind of cool. Like I know it's actually a Greek word and all that, but I think it sounds pretty dope. Cardia Goldvim, the Baroness, the heir to the baronry, or whatever that works. Heiress, she'd be the heiress to the Baroness. Something. Heiress and heiress, interesting, eh? That's like a little law, metaphor for when they. Yeah, I know, not really. Aotus. That's probably how you really pronounce it. It's not Eris, it's Aotus. But I got my accent, and I'm just like, Erith. Nice and flat. So that's kind of the what's happening right now. I'm doing a new story with her, and it's actually quite interesting. I mean, it's going to be dark, man. It's going to explore darker things. It's going to have things that are hard to read, probably. It's going to be one of those things where I don't know why, but that's all I can write is like, and I know what that means. It means I'm going to make it difficult for myself, but it's a mental test, You gotta be okay with exploring the darker side, not just succumb to it. You have to come out of that shit, So that's my goal. I'm going to just kind of keep writing with this and see what happens. And I think there's some cool potential here. And as I'm doing this, Jacob's actually in the process of writing kind of a lore thing in a sense of one of his characters, which the main character is Geralt.
I don't know how you're doing this, because just keeping up with it right now is painful.
You just gotta go.
You can do it. You can do it. I know I can, because I've done it before. But now I remember why I stopped doing it.
Uh-huh.
And now I understand. I'm just sitting there like, oh, this is why you just can't write for weeks at a time. Because I just wrote for like an hour. And there's something there. There's something there.
Yeah.
And I hate it.
And you can go farther. This is the thing. I know. I fucking don't want to write
that whole, like, this could all go somewhere.
Yep.
But it sucks.
You have to do it, though. Because that one day of suck, you made up for it in those weeks off. You got to earn your time off. That's all. That's my mentality to myself. I'm not going to write for 5 minutes and say, I did all the work I need to do for a month. I didn't earn that fucking time. I need to bust my ass and, like, make myself fucking hate writing. Then I'll stop.
How do you do that?
That's
a mentality.
Because you got to do it, man. It's like, treat it like, why do you keep going to work, Jacob? I have to. Think of it like you have to get this out or your mind's going to fucking explode if you don't get that out. I think there's really good potential there that he should explore, and you never know where that's going to go. And it'll help you flesh out characters more and stuff like that. And, you know, there's already a connection there that I didn't know was Hadrian the Bastard and Geralt. I didn't know that. I thought Hadrian the Bastard was just like a guy from the past, and he was 100 years ago when the grandfathers fought. Like, I didn't know that. So that's already something new that I learned. And the story and the way he views his world in the South, I like it. I really do. I think it's for me, it was already, I enjoyed reading it already.
News comes to the aid of Haradra. His hooded advisor rushed past the door guard to my father's side. He whispers, so gently that even I next to him almost cannot catch the words. The Siam merchant army has crossed the Alanai River, my liege. A response of forces Nes Cesare. It seems, bellowed my father, that our neighbors are trying to strike when we are weak, no doubt believing us locked in conflict. I must ask forgiveness, I have to lead my men to meet them. The Arch seemed to relax into a knowing slouch, his Inti's eyes focused less and less on the conversation at hand and reflected his mind wandering back to business as usual. No offense is taken. It is a short journey back home for us, we will prepare for a raid and meet with you at the river. Assuming Sarsian might can push back the Siam's greed. He cried antagonistically. No question, we will make them ripe for plunder and leave them no army to guard their golden city. A wonderful start to a new path. My father paused, however, the journey to my hold is much further, might I ask a favor, great lord? You may. I felt my father's grip tighten on my shoulder. Might you take my son to your hold, that I be less concerned with his well-being? A short laugh, and a relaxed tone carried an almost threatening reassurance from the Arch's voice. Certainly, it seems we may bond our people sooner than we thought. A great opportunity for him to see the old ways. Come then, Gerald, you receive the gift of marching with Archos today.
I was like, dude, this is going to be fucking dope. You know, we'll edit it later, man. Who cares? It's going to be rough. So, like, I'm also struggling through this fucking story where I'm sitting here just like, what the fuck am I doing? And I don't know how to do this, and this is frustrating. It is. It really, really fucking is. But I'm doing it too, you know. It's just getting Kevin on board. But, you know, with everything going on, I got to figure that out. See if we can help him out with this kind of stuff. Because his stories are pretty dope too. I think it's all great. Personally, I don't know if it's my bias, and I think my stories suck, donks, but their stories are really good. You know, at least the bones. You know, I mean, obviously it's got to be edited and shit, but fucking who cares about that? You can read past it. I think that they have some, you know, rather interesting things happening in their stories and all that. There was that scene when with Geralt in Jacob's book, when he was just kind of when he was talking to I guess to himself in his journal or whatever it was. No one paid any mind to me and this and that. Like that whole scene, I loved it. I was like, that's fucking great. Where are you at?
Days passed on the road as I watched the men's hard demeanor slowly fade into comfort with the same people they must have known for years. They joked, laughed, and seldom paid me any mind. I did not mind.
Yes, I like this already.
The lack of attention, it felt relieving to be with people who placed no weight on my presence. They would ask me a question or two, offer me a drink, and welcome me around the fire as they ate their salted meals.
Nice. This is good. I like the way he worded that kind of stuff, and I like that character. I felt for him in that moment. I felt like as myself. I was like, fuck, I remember thinking that too. Like, I hope no one notices me. I hope I'll be quiet. I'll stay out of the way and stuff like that. And I remember thinking that too. So I related to it. I guess that was really cool. Even though it was like a glimpse. And the hard part is just like going forward with that in thousands and thousands of words. Jumping into a story very, very deep. That's the hard part.
That being said, him being a child and being an important child, he would be kept more near, the center compound, the center keep.
Who's watching him? Who's his guider? Who's his, what is that word? I don't know, but the person that's like, you watch him, if anything happens, we could,
It would just be Arco's,
wife?
what is it? It would be Arco's handman until Haradra takes an interest in him and is like, yeah, I'll take care of it. You guys are good.
Okay.
Because he ostensibly counts as a handman, being so actively in this.
This first handman will be kind of crucial. This has got to set up an initial thought of the Anarcho people through Geralt's eyes. Do you want to start that negatively or positively? Do you want this moment to be a negative first impression of the Anarcho in his own accord, or do you want it to be more positive?
It's got to be positive because the whole point of a lot of this is that Southerners aren't shitty bad people.
No, okay.
Like even these guys, the
bad
dangerous, reckless savages are just fucking people.
Do you want this guard to kind of just follow him around and talk to him? Do you want him to take a moment, hey kid, I'm gonna show you some things? Because maybe he noticed right here, he has like something like this, like a special little blade on him, and Geralt's like, well, what's that? Oh, see, you fancy the iron, eh, or some shit? And he's like, yeah, I kind of do. And he's like, I got this, maybe he's a bragging kind of guy. You get to think of his character, or if he's stoic, hard things won for blah blah blah. I'm thinking of all the dead now. He could be stoic and say it's just a good blade that a man can carry, something. But maybe he notices the weapon on him, and the guy tells him in some way, and he's like, well, how did you get that? And he tells him a story. I don't know, whatever handmen fucking do, and whatever his accomplishment was. At that point, you can make anything up. I was in the high seas in the Aipioi about 5 years ago when we came upon and something happened. And my king, or whatever he calls him, my anarch, granted this to me as a present for keeping his booty safe, keeping his
booty,
his wife safe, keeping his fucking, I don't care, anything it could be. I did something for my king, or my anarch. Oh, he rewards you for that? Yeah, and then he's kind of prying, and then you could have an internal monologue. At this point, I was becoming kind of curious about the Anarch people. Is it true, and he says something that's maybe a rumor that was spread in Sarcia, is it true that the Anarchs are half-breeds with wild boar? Or, I don't know, whatever a fucking kind of a mean thing would be. That you guys sprung from the ground or something? And he'll laugh rumors I'm sure carry pretty well over in Sarcia. No, we are actually blah blah blah. And then you can start forming a positive, they're humans, just like me. And maybe Geralt can have a moment of maybe he's a kid like me, where he'd take this opportunity and say, why are we fighting? Is there a reason why our peoples don't like each other? And maybe this guy's got some insight that's carried with Geralt to this day. Maybe in that moment he says something positive to him about why they're fighting, which solidifies his later life. You know what I mean? You could do something like that.
This all sounds exceptionally difficult. I don't know how you do. I understand why this stresses you out, because I'm just thinking about it and it's stressing me out.
Fuck, man. There's like so much things that this book has got like laid out everywhere. Like everywhere. Like I look at my desk. I just read something that says Forgotten People, the Pythians, in the kingdom of Arcea, known as the Land Between the Mists. Like, fuck, man. Like, that's here too? That dope shit, the whisper was the promise to the Inaku people, or I look at the face plate of the helmets, or the death mask of their ancestors, or the goddamn, the cave in Sheila, the Alkians, the Kilsians, the Aeon, clandestine order, all these names, the stone, Dresh, conduit, path, or the push to the, what does it say? Push to the destined path, the keepers, the guardians, the dark dream, the walker, the Valens. Like, there's like so many different things. I have an alphabet looking at me of a written language. Oh my God, there's a lot. There's all these like moving parts, and they're all different things. And now I'm reading a story about a girl named Cardia, who's heir to be the Baroness, in the county of Goldvim. And she may or may not be in trouble, you know. And you have Eris, who's fucking just on a journey because he's being chased by darkness that finally has succumbed to the land because everything failed. And Cypress's journey and stuff like that. It's fucking crazy. It's a lot. It really is. But then I go hearing stories about fucking Geralt.
At this point, Geralt's probably like 10.
Okay.
So he's viewing all this as a kid who was raised in politics. He's been expected to hold up to the things. And he has some basic sense of morals, and he's terrified of his dad.
Okay.
And everybody goes, this kid's a fucking genius. Just do what he says. The 10-year-old who's not fully aware of the world, but he's just sitting there like, this is counter to everything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, Sarceans are a confederation of tribes that work together under the identity of Sarcean. But there's no king. There's no one guy we all just listen to.
And that's possibly something that's going on. Does this go against everything that Geralt would understand? Is his fear based in just fear, or is there, because he's so young, maybe there wouldn't be any sense actually of him saying like, oh my goodness, our culture is...
He knows he hates his dad. He knows he thinks his dad's a bad person because he's seen how he got power.
Okay.
And he thinks his dad getting more power is bad at this level. As is stated, he hates him. He hates him. And this is actually why the whole thing with Southerners is better to die than to be wrong. It's better to die than to misuse what you have.
Yeah. And Alastra...
And at some point, Alistair just stops, and he's just looking in a mirror. He's not all there, and he is staring in the mirror, and all he sees is himself, not looking quite right, screaming back at him, but he is just kind of stuck in place, trying to just figure this reality out. He just wants to know why it won't stop. And Alistair, or my bad, Eris, who is likely residing in the same area, will walk by, and he'll see Alistair staring into the mirror, but whereas everybody else just kind of sees a dude who looks vaguely like you, staring into a mirror, just kind of going, just having a moment, Eris will kind of see that the mirror isn't doing the same thing back.
Yeah.
He'll pick up that Alistair is really not, he's not just kind of a unhinged southerner. Something is really, really not right with him at that very second. Jump forward to the moment that kicks off Southern unification, where Alistair is just sitting in this hall. He's not even a week ago written to Vathia, lost track of Eris. He's trying to talk to Vathia about what's going on, because he knows he can't talk to anybody else about what's going on. He hears the whispers, he hears the song, the voices, and he's just sitting there, and at some point, he looks around, he realizes his wife isn't there. He goes, the fuck? And he's looking around, he sees her and a few other people leave the hall, and the whisper starts picking up. He can hear the song louder and louder, and he's looking around, and he's like, why the fuck are so many people standing up? This is not, oh, and then somebody goes for it. That's one of those moments where he catches it just a little bit, sticking into his hand. It's by no means in a good spot. It gets about this much in him. If you're stabbing him, you'd think you did some damage. Your body can take a lot of damage before it truly stops functioning.
Dude, really, really weird.
The extent of which you're like, so he's in that moment, he's looking at a bowl, right? He gets hit, he's hunched over a bit, he's looking at a bowl, and this all takes place over the course of a second and a half. Looks in the bowl, he sees his reflection, he hears the whisper, sees things start happening in the bowl around him, concave, he sees people moving, fighting is happening, and then he looks back in the bowl, and he sees his face screaming, and then slowly, the whispering dies out. Like, real fucking hard, that whispering dies out, and all you hear is actually fucking screaming. He's actually 100% in that second, he has snapped.
And fucking, oh my goodness. The Kirkos and all that, like, what's his end game?
Which one?
Kirko. What's his end game?
Take over all the South?
Because...
Power?
Does it have anything to do with the religion? Does it have anything to do with, like, some sort of political thing? Is it cultural? Is it mental, where it's just him and he's got problems and, you know, this and that?
By saying strength of mind, strength of arm, strength of will, he can justify, well, if I have the strength to take over all of it and reap the benefits and live, he's not going to say this out loud, but live in the lavish way that, say, Lyrians do. Haradrim Kirko's political career starting about the time he was 16
Yeah.
to now when he's 28, he's consolidated a lot of fucking power.
So you only...
First through acts of violence, and then later through acts of political intrigue where he's going...
Well, you have evidence enough to show that. You've seen it. And two, if in Haradrim Kirko's mind it's as simple as, why not? I deserve this. Then it's even simpler to another king saying, he's not complex at all. He's just doing this because he's money grabbing. Skullduggery or...
It's power grabbing. It's authentic power grabbing. It's not like connivey fucking... Or it is connivey, but it's the motivation is, I can, so I am.
Vesemir...
Like here we have, well, the fee for, you know, this, or the legal fine for this is $20,000. For fucking Vesemir, that's nothing. For a peasant, that's everything. And more. So what does the South not have? Fee-based laws, anything like that. Laws are based on lashings, no matter who you are, it's going to hurt you the fucking same. That's how they view fair, equitable, just. A king and a peasant must suffer the same for murder. That's how that works. What we're seeing is an interpretation of that strength of arm, strength of mind, strength of will from Haradrim Kirko, where he's saying, well, I have the strength of mind to make a bunch of laws that let me get away with this with impunity. And that also strength of mind has allowed me to make you make those laws valid and support them, so why shouldn't I? Because now you're just reaching with it. You're taking something that's supposed to apply to the individual ethics and acts and saying, well, you're all backing it, so. And that's my strength of mind, because I'm in charge. It must be my strength of mind making all this happen, allowing me to do all this.
Right.
Which is, you know, a reach.
So you're basically setting up the beginning stages of mind over might. When it comes to the mind part, it's the New Age kind of thought with the Ronic people that it seems like they established this whole knowledge-based understanding thing to the people. And knowledge is power and all that. And the people that hold the knowledge are the people that hold the power. It seems like that's a New Age thing, and this is old school might is right thing. It seems like that's going to be the clash on. That's going to be the civil war. Yes. It's going to be between conscious ideas, where it's like, should you rule people by fear? Or should you educate people?
And let them decide who's in charge.
It's almost like, are we setting up a government here, like laying the groundworks for whatever comes to, whatever form of government happens, whether it be like communism or democracy or fucking, I don't know, anything. Whatever that leads to, it seems like this is the point where it's on the crux of that moment. And you have someone like him, Kirko, purely by accident, you could say, being the catalyst to this.
Yes.
So if I'm over in the Ronic culture and I see that Sarcia is having conflicts with their southern neighbor, and it's kind of like not terribly, like
It's
affecting
happening.
us. It's happening, but it's not.
It's over there.
Yeah, we should intervene though. So the Ronic people, and I'm assuming Vesemir's obviously king during this time, probably. It's kind of twisted, I would say, but you kind of have to do that when it comes to politics. He's probably saying he knows what's going on. I know that you said that their spy networks aren't necessarily the greatest. You told me that they're not great. They get things done. They can do things. They rely on merchants, I believe you said.
Yeah, they're primitive, but they're everywhere.
With word coming back that there's a conflict going on, it's been happening for X amount of years, and how well does he know this man here?
Knows him well enough as he's watched him as a political head from a distance, so he knows that from Haradrim Kirko's political career starting about the time he was 16
Yeah.
to now when he's 28, he's consolidated a lot of fucking power.
So you only
First through acts of violence, and then later through acts of political intrigue where he's going,
well, you have evidence enough to show that. You've seen it. And he knows the game of the power, the might is right thing. King Vesemir is watching this happen, and he's like, he's playing into my hand. Not only will I not intervene right away, because it wouldn't behoove us, obviously, to have you said this is 20 years ago-ish?
yeah,
So it's 20 years after the trade war, things have settled down.
there's a lack of manpower even if they wanted to.
He's just, too much is going on with their northern border in the Gaiufa Mountains. Too much is happening when it comes to this border skirmish shit and the northern people. But also, this plays into him shifting a consciousness. You have to root out the evil, right? Well, sometimes
rearing its head.
sometimes when it has to do that in order for you to justify saying, oh, look, I'm killing it. Like, I want you to see that it's there. Not me quietly killing it in the dark and saying, no, don't worry, I did you a service. And then Kevin tells me a story about Vathia and what they're doing. It's like,
Where we are in the book is 2 months post Gilor's. So like while I was up in the mountains and Gilor went back, and where we are now, like that all, because he didn't go like way up into the mountains with them.
no.
He only traveled up just past like the thumb of Lower Greeth,
Okay.
and then he turned around, and then so like we're up over here, and then my second battalion's just up over here on this other ridge.
Right, but so then you understand that, like, I'm not working in the interests of Vanensteer, and I don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
You're beginning a Mount of Aku, in a sense.
No, exactly. And so when I come back, I know that the image that I'm going to come back is the same as Caesar coming back across.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so that's why I the other day when I was thinking about this is like, so I linked back up with my second battalion. That second battalion is going to have to essentially, like, the tides roll back with me and cover our tracks through here from that scouting unit.
Yeah, we can do two things, and I have a third idea too.
Mm-hmm.
We could place us somewhere where we could all meet, where it would logistically make sense for all of our characters.
Mhm.
We'll just write up to it, not a big deal, and have us attacked, right? So to kind of like put a little bit of chaos, so that way you can't get a grip hold of all of us, and then we got to make a plot device. Let's move some things, make shit happen. We could go Illyrian, or the shit that's been happening with Eris. Like, that's a device that I've been bringing with me. This idea of like things are opening up, shit's starting to happen in the big story. I could invite that in to give us a device to say, here's where chaos can start. We can do those things there. I don't know which one we want to go with, this Illyrian idea or this high story idea, to work with this, because we do need to have an attack happen.
Yeah.
It does need to open the eyes of Vathia and Alistar and his men. Because 'Cause, Titus and all my people, we've witnessed this shit. Like, something's going on. And we need to have an attack happen. We can do those things there. I don't know which one we want to go with, this Illyrian idea or this high story idea, to work with this, because we do need to have an attack happen. It does need to open the eyes of Vathia and Alistar and his men. Because Titus and all my people, we already, we've witnessed this shit. Like, something's going on. But you guys have no clue. You both are just kind of like, we're told to be here and to do this, but we don't know exactly why. Gearlord told me to do this. I was sent up here. I kind of understand a little bit about this stuff, but I don't know what's going on.
And as far as I understand, you're the only 2 people connected to this guy who was supposed to pay me, who isn't able to now, so now the contract extends to you.
Yeah. Give it a reason, and we got to make, yes, damn sure that we're all where we need to be, and it makes the most sense. I don't want to place us together, and it's just like, that doesn't make, why the fuck is he, you know what I mean? We have to find ways, and we have to witness these things happening. Like, Vathia has no clue that there's something bigger going on than struggles in Tantorum, bullshit again with Lyria, possibly Etrovia, I don't fucking know. That's all he knows.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to have a witness. He had a counter with a wolf. He had this vision. So he's like, I don't know what that is. Maybe I'm just kind of tired, dehydrated or something. We have to give him a reason to see, okay, there's something bigger going on here, and I don't like it because this is causing an issue. Give him confliction, because we have to give our characters conflict constantly.
Right.
To help them grow.
Right.
And with Gearlord's death, and maybe something we could wrap in there with a premonition of some sort of when he was young, you know, anything. We can find a way.
Yeah.
But we have to find a way to get us in this room together before we try this scenario of us all witnessing it. We got to find a way to make sure we're all here and it makes the most sense, you know? This is a fucking lot. Not in a bad way. It's all really good. It's amazing. It's just like, I guess I have a fear of like getting people hooked onto all this. A real question.
Yes.
Before we get to the book again. Everything that we're doing right now and how much we're putting into it, and like, are any of you guys kind of nervous about the one day presenting this to people?
No.
Not at all.
Well,
I
I
know.
mean, I just naturally have that tendency to turtle, I guess.
I have a slight
when
fear
it
of
becomes when it comes to a certain number of people, or just the adverse effect. If you get just really powerful people, and it's just like 2 people.
I understand. It's just,
You know, like the power outweighs the numbers versus like the numbers outweigh the power,
well,
sort of thing.
it's my life's work. You know what I mean? What
And
I've
that's-
contributed. That's what makes me nervous.
That's what kind of eliminates that fear, though, is it's not unknown, right? First day at work, oh, I don't know, I've never done this before. There's that apprehensive. Why?
Yeah.
It's unknown, right? This isn't unknown. Right now, some of the things that we're hashing out are unknown, but it's not finished yet. So,
Well, and think about it like, what is the biggest identifying factor for people like us up until you started this? The music you listen to. Think of simply the apprehensiveness you feel when showing somebody your music. And then think of how you feel if that person were to be like, this is actually kind of shit. You just be like, fuck their opinion, man.
Yeah.
They don't know music. I talk to people about the book, and when they're like, what is that? I'm like, oh my god. So,
I have now, seeing how you don't like the hype, we'll do it for you. I've already sent out plenty of pages. I've sent out that file of 195.
You guys are the leaks. This was already leaked out. I didn't do it.
I've totally leaked this out, man. 100%. Like 5 times over 100%. That 195 pages.
You were like that with the music, though. Getting them to where they care about this as much as we do.
This is at this chapter.
Oh,
That would be like
I
that.
know exactly what's happening. They're about to
Exactly.
fucking cry.
you know, like those epiphany moments of like, dude, the Forgotten King is this, and they're like, holy shit, he is that, isn't he? And it's just like we all understand because we've enveloped into it. It comes with time. I get it. How to get people hooked on. But that's the hard part. Because no one cares about it as much as we do, the 3 of us. In our own way, and we've each found something different in it. Like what I get out of it is much different than what Jacob gets out of it.
For me, this book appeals to me for the same reason heavy metal appeals to me. No matter what you believe stepping into heavy metal, you get the same thing out of it as everybody else. It's there to help you. It doesn't care who you are.
To which is much different than what Kevin gets out of it.
To like reconcile with things. Yeah. That's a different, like that's another side of the book, right? Like
Turn the page.
turn the page, right? You got this side that has this writing on it, but you got to turn the page.
Yeah.
And what is that? I think that's reconciliation. You Okay, you've accepted that this is on this side, but what's next?
It's still in the book.
It's still in the book, right? It's still documented,
It's
right?
just you're not there anymore.
You're always going to have that moment, that memory, that bit of scar tissue.
But between the pages, yeah.
But you got to turn the page. You got to keep going. You can't just be like, well, I got to the lowest part of the story. Well, did you finish the book? No, I just relishing in the sadness. But it gets so much gooder. Like,
we each have something that it evokes in us, something that we feel that we can put into it. I'm putting into it something quite different than what Kevin's putting into it. Like, what part of yourself do you carry in here and leave? You know, everyone's got something different about it that they're doing, and I really think that's going to show when it's out, whenever that happens, man. I might be 50, 60 years old. I don't know. It might be next year. It's just hard to... like, find it. It's hard to... I know the book is here, waiting for me. It's just writing in it and getting into that world has become a process. And it's like, you created it like that. You've made it difficult to write. I understand that. I don't want to simplify it. It's not a story that can be simple. Just because something's hard doesn't mean you should not fucking do it. You know, I don't want to be that person. It's like, well, it got too difficult, so I wanted to make the story simple. And it's like, no, that's not going to hold in time. What's going to hold is the idea that this story took the lives, not like killed, but, you know, like it swallowed whole the lives of 3 people. But what they brought out was art on such a high level and so deeply intertwined into the like culture and consciousness of the times. You know, it wasn't on purpose, but I mean, when you have a human being walking into a place, he's going to leave something, and the shit that he's leaving is what's happening in his world around him. Like, it's inevitable. That's going to happen. There's no mystery to that. Like, well, when you were writing that, like 1984, like, oh, yeah. I'm surprised that like more of those don't exist. It's just called consciousness, man. Like, it's nothing special. He predicted the future. No. He was living it. But I think that's what people forget. And so when someone will read this and they'll see like these parallels to whatever, I don't know. I mean, because you have a blanket term like the darkness, you can see a lot of parallels to it, you know. Like the story of Cardi already is, you could pull out of it the idea of sedating people with medication, because what's going on in their lives is tragic, but the reason it is tragic is because the fucking world is forcing it on them. So what do? You give them medicine to dull their natural instincts, telling them to stop. I mean, that you could pull that right out of Cardia's story. And that's kind of what I want to explore in that concept of like, because I wasn't okay, because my soul or whatever was screaming at me that you don't want to do this with your life. You hate this. I'm given medication to make me feel good. Synthetically. No, it's not. They're releasing chemicals in your brain that are already there. Yeah, whatever. But there's a reason why they weren't already there. It's this fucking world. It has nothing to do with those common tropes. There's a part of me that doesn't like that I'm on it. Because I don't feel that bad when I'm working at home. Or when I'm just living my normal life, you know, hanging out with my friends and just doing like that, I'm fine. It's just when I go to a job, it's like, fuck this, dude, fuck this. Because it just brings forth that and conjures this thing of like, this is the world. You are this little thing and you do this for that person to give them some sort of wealth, and then from that wealth they build fucking bullshit. I don't know. It's evoked darkness in my mind whenever I go out into the world and just watch how it's being, like how reality, I guess, is being portrayed. I mean, look at the stupid shit going on right now of the time of this recording. You know? A lot of stupid shit happening. It's been happening for months. People are just fucking at war with themselves, but they're casting it on each other. It's fucking insane. It's like, you know, that's not doing anything. None of it is. I don't know why we think it will. It's fucking dumb. I don't know, though. I guess in time we'll see.